as long as they're doing what God has called them to do, we'll have some people that's going to scandalize your name. You're going to have some people that's going to walk out on your life. You're going to have some people that turn their backs on you. But when they turn their backs on you, you can look to the hills which cometh your help, because all of your help comes from the Lord. It don't come from your boo. It don't come from your booette, but it comes from the Lord. Is there anybody here today that's got a made up mind that they're going to serve the Lord with all of their heart? Is there anybody here today that's glad that they got to go through some valleys and climb some hills, but through it all you will still serve the Lord? I wish I had one or two sold out believers that don't matter come hell or high water, yet I will trust the Lord. So I just want to encourage somebody this morning not to get weary in well-doing. That the same God that raised Jesus from the dead is the same God that shall raise you from your troubles in your life. If we place our hope in the glory of God, our problems become our solutions. Our hope in Jesus Christ is the foundation of our Christian journey. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, when my theology, my conversations about God connects with the Christology, the work and the person of Jesus Christ, then the ecclesiology, the church, will be the church without a spot or wrinkle, because he's already died so that you may live, and he already rose that we may have a future. And the Apostle Paul reminds us in this Roman text, since God raised Jesus from the dead, there is nothing that shall separate us from God's love. And that's the problem of the church today. We got too many fake and phony and fickle folk that get all discombobulated when trouble comes your way. I wish I had one or two born again believers that know that when they see trouble, they look at trouble and not complain to God about trouble, but look at trouble and tell trouble that my God shall supply all of my needs. We need some strong Christians that stops complaining and begin to celebrate while I'm going through, because there's something happens in the supernatural when I got to face my trials and my tribulations. If I open up my mouth and begin to bless the name of God, God changes my situation in the spiritual realm, and it makes itself down into the physical realm, and I can have power because God says if I trust in him, whatever I bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whenever I loose on earth shall be loose in heaven. I don't care what I got to go through as long as I'm hidden in him. My troubles don't last always. And that's why while we're going through trials and tribulations in isolation, we must continue to live in the hope of the triumphal Jesus Christ. While you're being ridiculed and persecuted, never forget that Jesus says that he will never leave you nor forsake you. And just as the apostle reminds them that they have been chosen and predestined by God the Father and sanctified by the Spirit of obedience to Jesus Christ, because the blood has sealed them, I want to encourage you this afternoon that the same God that raised Jesus from the dead, he works in the midst of your situation. So do not consider your current condition as the end of your story. But rather the foundation of your future. If your hope is in the return of Jesus Christ, your trials and tribulations will work out for your good, because we know all things work for the good of them that love God and who are called according to his purpose. How many of you know that our God is bigger than our problems? The fact of the matter is that if our minds are on our problems, we lose focus on the faith that requires us to get on the other side of our problems. But if our mind is stayed on Jesus Christ, I can look at my problem and say, bye-bye problems, because I know my God shall deliver me from the hands of the enemy. And since our minds determine our faith, as children of God, we must move our minds into actions. That's why Paul reminds us that nothing shall separate him from the love of God, because his mind never stays idle in his problems. His mind moves into actions, and that's what I want to leave you with today. If you put your mind into action and begin to praise and worship God, God shall deliver you right on time, because he says people may talk about you and scandalize your name. They may persecute you and stab you in the back, but be encouraged today, Belton Creek, because God foreknew you before your enemy came against you. God predestined you to be greatness and not to be the head, the foot. God formed you in his likeness and not to destroy you. So no matter what you got to face in life, if you hold on to the master's hand, don't give up. Don't throw in the towel, because he who called you also justified you. And he who justified you also will glorify you. What can you say then? You can look at that enemy in the face and say, if God is for me, I don't care what you do. If God is for me, I don't care what you say. If God is for me, who can be against me? I'm almost through. He wants to control our minds so that when trouble comes, we focus on, our minds focus on the trouble rather than the power of God. I cannot focus on my problems, but I must stay focused on the problem solver. How many of you know that God can fix every problem you face? He's a heart fixer. He's a mind regulator. He's a heavy load bearer. He's a doctor in the sick room, a lawyer in the courtroom. He's Jehovah Rapha, the Lord that shall heal your body. He's Jehovah Nisi, the Lord that shall fight every one of your battles. He's Jehovah Shalom in the midst of chaos and confusion. He will be your peace. Is there anybody here today that knows that God is Jehovah Jireh? For I know he will provide. He's a rock in a weary land. He's a shelter in the time of a storm. The devil tries to trick me to give up on God, but I heard my grandmama used to say it like this: you can't make me doubt him, because I know too much about him. He woke me up this morning. He started me on my way. He clothed me in my right mind. He gave me the activities of my limbs. Is there anybody here today that's glad that they know God for themselves? Ain't he all right? Ain't he all right? Ain't he all right? The psalmist declared, I will walk with him in the midst of trouble, and he shall preserve my life. I don't care what you're going through. If you just trust and believe in God, God will deliver you in the nick of time. Is there anybody here today that's ever gone through something in life and they had to steal away, get down in their prayer closet and call on the name of the Lord? Come on, don't fool with me. Is there anybody here today that really had to trust God and take him at his word? Didn't he show up? Didn't he show up on time? Didn't he say what he said he was going to do? Ain't he all right? Ain't he all right? Is there anybody here today that knows that God is good all the time? And all the time, God is good. That's why he penned right here. He says, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? I don't care what I got to go through. Nothing shall separate me from God's love. Why? He died on an old rugged cross. Friday night, he was put down in a borrowed tomb all Friday and all Saturday night. He preached a revival down in the depths of hell. But early Sunday morning, he got up with all power in his hand. Because he lives, I don't have to worry about what I'm facing. But the question is, what separates you? Is it your status? Is it your family? Is it your neighbors? Paul says this: no matter what you're going through in life, all things are going to work out for your good. The doors of the church are open. As the choir sings, if you do not know God for yourself, the first invitation is the invitation for salvation. Come. No longer be separated from the love of God. Allow the Spirit of God to reconnect you back to the Father. The second invitation is the invitation for discipleship. We're not a perfect church, but we do serve a perfect God, as the choir sings.